Didn't you know? The Super Mario 64 speedrunner, known by his screen name Cheese, was actually an important person in the development of Majora's Mask. The head developer Koji Kondo intentionally left references to the speedrunner for him to find during his playthroughs, ranging from comical visuals such as a block of cheese on Zelda's sword, to entire mask quests centered around dairy ranches and milk bars. These were left unnoticed, however, as Cheese had assumed that Majora's Mask was just an edgy ROM hack of Ocarina of Time, and thus never took the time to play it. Majora's Mask is most famous for adding two new characters to the Zelda universe, the map maker Tingle and the world hugger Mr. Moon. These beloved characters may initially seem like two very different people, but their creations were actually tied together. If you look closely at Mr. Moon, you can see that he has an oddly large and triangular nose. This design was based off of Tingle, who was developed prior to Mr. Moon. They share many physical traits, such as the design of their faces, as well as their passion for destroying the world. Majora's Mask is a continuation of the story of Ocarina of Time, and has many callbacks to the original game, one such being the inclusion of a fairy companion that joins Zelda in his adventure at the beginning of the game. This fairy is named Tattle, and is very clearly a replacement for Navi. However, what's less well known is that her name, in conjunction with her sister's name, is actually a play on words. Her sister's name is Tail, and when you combine their names, you get Tattletale, which is a reference to the Tattletale Strangler from SpongeBob. Throughout Majora's Mask, the player faces several dungeon bosses. Every single boss battle begins right as the player enters the room, except for one, the battle with the Snowhead Temple's boss, Goat. This boss has to be unfrozen with the fire arrows, and once the player has unfrozen it, Goat simply runs away from the player. This is because Goat actually doesn't want to fight at all. He's an innocent mechanical goat, hence the name Goat, who found himself lost in a cave and was unfortunately frozen after extended exposure to the cold. Later concept art from Hyrule Historia reveals that Goat wasn't even mechanical or masked to begin with, but rather just an ordinary goat that was in the wrong place at the wrong time. One of the main focuses in Majora's Mask is mask collecting. Zelda collects many different masks, granting him various abilities that he otherwise wouldn't have. Most notably are the transformation masks, which completely change Zelda's appearance and allow him to take on the form of a rock monster, a fish with legs, a literal plant, and an emo version of adult Zelda from Ocarina of Time. The idea to have Zelda gain these new personalities from masks was inspired by Persona 5. A reference to the summoning of personas by ripping off masks is even present in the game. The player can learn a song known as the Elegy of Emptiness, which allows the user to separate themselves from the persona rather than just becoming it themselves. The main antagonist of Majora's Mask is, of course, Majora's Mask. During the final battle with Majora, Majora uses three different forms: the Mask form, the Incarnation form, and the Wrath form. His second form, the Incarnation form, is notably bizarre and unlike the other two forms. This is because it is based off of none other than Michael Jackson himself. In his Incarnation form, Majora gains a human physique, growing legs, arms, and a head. He also gains the high-pitched singing voice, dances to his own self-made beat, and even does the King of Pop's iconic dance move, the moonwalk. This is also a joke in and of itself, as the battle actually takes place on the moon. Didn't you also know that the idea to have Zelda use bombs in Ocarina of Time to fight Dodongos was based off of Zelda Want of Gamelon? If you want to know more trivia on Zelda and other obscure video game series, look out for the Didn't You Know video games episode on Ocarina of Time. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to leave a like and press the subscribe button to show support. If you want a chance to see episodes a week before their release, consider checking out the Patreon. And look out for new episodes of Didn't You Know video games. A special thanks to Nintencore for being our first Patreon supporter, as well as for designing the new video overlay. I'm planning on using it for videos from now on, so please show some support for Nintencore in the comments. Thanks for watching, and thanks so much, dude. I really like how it looks. I'll see you guys next time.